Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to say a few words about the power of baking stuff with Nestle Toll House morsels. You can heal a broken heart with a bundt cake. Make a Monday morning feel like a Friday afternoon with some Nestle Toll House morsels. Let's close our laptops and open our ovens. These things don't bake themselves. We have to bake them for one another. We can bake the world a better place, one Toll House cookie at a time. Nestle. Good food, good life.
Hi everyone, today I'm going to do one of the most requested looks on my website, and that is Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Really excited about this because it is one of my favourite films and everybody loves Audrey. Now, because it was made in 1961, it's slightly different if you look at the makeup in Breakfast at Tiffany's from a lot of her films in the 50s. So if you think of Funny Face and Roman Holiday and Sabrina, which were all made between sort of 1953 and 57, and that's when she had the huge, really, really dark eyebrows, because it was very typical of the time to have a very dun brow. So the 50s version of Audrey Hepburn is definitely the one with the very dark eyebrows, very, very super drawn on eyebrows, and the one where she normally had bright lips, so red lips, bright pink, much stronger lips. By 1961, when this film came out, when Breakfast at Tiffany's came out, it's a much, much softer brow she's going for. They were still really thick, but they're nowhere near as drawn on and much softer and less black. So I've started by using Perfection Lumiere. I've used it in number 20 beige. I've also used some concealer under my eyes. I used a Lumi cover, and I've used some Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage just to make sure that all the little blemishes and things are all airbrushed out. So on to what's probably the most important element of the Breakfast at Tiffany's makeup, and that's the eyes. So onto the eyeliner, and I've mapped out roughly the sort of line I want, which is a good base for the eyelashes already on this eye. I suggest keeping it obviously thin in the inner corner, and then keeping it sort of the same width, I guess, the same thickness all the way across before the flick. So start by really making sure you've got it into the roots of the lashes. So just keep building up and keep checking the other eye, because you can see, if you look straight ahead in a mirror, you can see where it's meant to start to get thicker, and especially when you're doing the outer corner, if you look straight ahead, really focus on the other eye, keep looking back, and then you can kind of do a little mapping out of roughly where you want your flick to be. So next on to the eyelashes, I'm going to use these Kiss ones, Kiss USA. I just found them in Boots. I love the shape of these. They're number 07 because I think they're quite sort of feathery, and the lashes in Breakfast at Tiffany's are very, very feathery and sort of pretty. Before I put my lashes on, I'm going to curl my eyelashes, give them a really good curl. We'll have to say I love these lashes. They're the perfect shape for Breakfast at Tiffany's. Really, really feathery and nice and feathery and bushy at the outer corner, but also they're giving a really round eye. They're not too sort of cattish, they're more kittenish, I say, which is perfect. I don't have any dark glue at the moment, so I'm going to have to wait for a moment for this white glue to become clear. If you are struggling with lash application, then I have done 2 really in-depth videos on how to apply individuals and full strips, so have a look at those. You might find them useful. So that's the lashes on. I'm not going to put any mascara through them because I want them to remain nice and feathery and soft. So we're starting to see our nice open kitteny eye appearing. Now for the rest of the eye makeup, Wally Westmore, who was the makeup artist on Breakfast at Tiffany's, made some really wonderful and subtle changes throughout the film to the makeup, and I think he did such a good job. For the day scene, she always had brown liner on, so again it was very, very soft and pretty. And then for the evening scenes and the parties, it would just be a bit more depth, so a little bit more black liner, often a little longer eyelash. And whereas during the day scenes there was no eyeshadow on at all, for the evening scenes I noticed that there was sort of a lovely hazy, soft kind of grey just on her lid, because Audrey naturally had very deep, beautiful sockets, so she didn't need, probably why I didn't need to emphasise that anymore. And I think he just kept it so fresh and so sort of clean and wide-eyed looking. The other thing that was really interesting was that I noticed that George Peppard, who played Fred, often had this sort of blue eyeliner on his waterline, obviously to make his eyes look a lot bluer. But I noticed also that Audrey had it on in a couple of the scenes, just a little bit along the lower waterline. She didn't have white. It wasn't a sort of 50s white liner, but it did look very clean. So I'm going to use, I presume what they used was a sort of flesh-toned pencil. And I'm going to use that just to keep that lovely, wide open look. And this is such a great makeup for anyone with smaller eyes, because it's all about opening. Next I'm going to do a little bit of subtle shading. I'm going to mix together grey and brown, because most of the shadow in the film is a sort of greyish brown colour. Now if you've got small eyes, you might like to do this little trick, which is to take most of the colour off and then put a little soft haze of this greyish brown, but set it slightly away from the lashes, so you're kind of putting in a fake kind of big eye in a way. I noticed in a couple of the scenes Audrey's got this right along, and then she's also got it up, sort of mirroring the little kitten eye, so it's kind of going along and then it's finishing about a few millimetres away from that. So you could even do that if you wanted. And by doing that, just setting it back from the lash line, it just means that when you put your mascara on the bottoms, you have a nice framing for them, which is setting away from the eye, so you're getting those really big, open, Audrey-esque eyes. So again, mixing grey and brown matte shadows, not too browny, because there wasn't a browny vibe in the makeup at all. Now Audrey had it just on a little bit for the night scenes, just a bit of grey shading just on the lid. If you're not as fortunate as Audrey to have such an amazing socket line, you can cheat an Audrey-esque one by just dusting in, but again, keep it really, really subtle, just to give a little bit of shape and to sort of mimic the shape of her eyes, but keep it very natural looking. The other really clever thing that Wally Westmore did, he made the lady that's supposed to be older, the sort of older lover of George Peppard, much more 50s looking. So he kept her makeup very, very 50s with the more corally red lips and the brows, whereas Audrey looked very sort of modern in a way, you know, because she had a little bit of a 60s vibe going on, even though it was very subtle because it was only 61. But you really got the impression that she was the young, happening one, and the other lady was a sort of stuck in the 50s. And just little things like that. I thought the makeup was done so well, but again, so subtly, and really made the film for me. But I guess that's because I'm obsessed with makeup. But so on to brows, and obviously Audrey's super famous for her brows, but this was a real step away from the 1950s Audrey Hepburn that we'd all got used to, the really dark, kind of really thick, very, very drawn on brow, very, very enhanced brow. And suddenly there she was in 1961 with a much lighter brow, still thick because they were naturally thick, but so much lighter in colour and a lot less penciling, so it felt very, very modern for her. I'm going to start by really thickening them up here at the top to turn them into Audrey's shape. So I'm going to draw a line. I can just brush mine down a bit for this. Really from about here, they're so much thicker. I mean, she really is a poster girl for brows, and anyone who's over plucked their eyebrows recently might want to have a quick look at Breakfast at Tiffany's and be inspired to grow them back. So just really thickening them up, especially in this first sort of portion. They were very, very thick and straight. But in Breakfast at Tiffany's, they were quite broken up, so it wasn't a solid line like it had been in Funny Face and her other Roman Holiday and her other films. So just really brush them through and break break up that line. Now for the cheeks, Audrey had a really fresh pink flush, really beautifully done. So I'm going to use China Pink Blusher by Boot 17. And you can, if you want, do a little bit of contouring if you've got a round face and you really want to. Audrey had obviously beautiful cheekbones, but just make sure it doesn't look like bronzer, because there was no bronzer and no sort of browniness on the skin at all. It was very, very fresh skin. So any bronzer will just make it look really cheap and nasty. So I'm going to use the colour was really high on the cheekbone, and it was quite a big area, really fresh. So it's all sort of up here. On top of the blusher, I'll just use a little bit of Stardust powder by Laura Mercier to give a touch of luminosity. I don't want too much shimmer, but this will sort of hopefully emulate that incredible Hollywood lighting that she had. The lip colour used throughout the film is the most incredible pinky peach colour, really fresh. And to get a really good look at that colour, there's a scene right at the end when she's in the taxi, and there's a letter of bad news, and she says something along the lines of, a girl couldn't look at that until she's put her lipstick on. And then she gets her lipstick out and you see this beautiful, beautiful colour. Before I do that, I'm just going to line the lips, because she had a little bit of enhancement, a little bit of lining underneath, just to make them a little bit fuller. On the top lip, she actually had less than she used to in the 50s. In the 50s, she really had the sort of fullness here and here, as was the look in the 50s, those huge inflated lips. So you start by using just a touch of pencil all over. I'm going to cheat the bottom and then really rub that in so there's no harsh lines. And then on the top, just a little bit of enhancement, but not too much. For the lip colour, I haven't actually got that exact colour to hand, so I'm having to mix together two shades. I'm mixing together Belle de Jour, which is a perfect sort of 60s peach, that's by Laura Mercier, and a little bit of Revlon Matte, and this one is in Mauve It Over, so it adds a little bit of pink. That's roughly the same colour. The colour is actually seared on my brain and I can't find it here today right this minute, but that's close enough, I guess. So steer away from the gloss and the bronzer, and just keep it very pinky and fresh. Now I think I need some more jewellery, because I can't be holly-go-lightly without some earrings. So I think I need a necklace as well. This has been so much fun. I've really, really enjoyed doing this makeup on myself. I've never done it before. And that is it. That's my Audrey Hepburn playing Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's inspired look. I hope you like it.